Welcome to reading the New Testament in original Greek with syntax analysis. Reading in this session Matthew chapter 2 verse 8. Και πέμψας αυτούς εις Βηθλεέμ είπεν, πορευθέντες εξετάσατε ακριβώς περί του παιδίου. Επάν δε έβρητε, επαγγείλατε μη, όπως κάγω ελθόν προσκυνήσω αυτό. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found them, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage. Grammatically, we now have a subjunctive in a main sentence. Proskiniso. I may pay him homage. So this is might be an interesting point to compare with. Some of the words we have seen it already when we have discussed in the previous sessions. Now we have kepemsas. Psi is a P and sigma combined together, right? The pempsas. Then we have sas. Hope you remembered we talked about it. I give you the tips and my way of memorizing it. Sas sasasan. Sas sasasan is the ending of the aorist participle. Masculine, feminine, neutral. So pempsas in a masculine and a singular. So pempsas is a participle. To send, it means sending them to Bethlehem. And who is sending them? The King Herod. Ipen, he said. Ipen is from the lego, to say, with an aorist form to ipen. We also have the similar word idon, right? A P and a delta. I hope you remember this simple, ridiculous way, my own way, to memorize it easily. With a P, with a mouse. We talked about it also. He said, singular. Porefthentes is from the poreume in modern Greek. Anyway, means to leave, to walk. So, and a participle anthes in a plural masculine, as you are leaving, as you leave. So, when you leave, also, after you leave. Exetasate is a compound verb in ek plus etazo. Etazo means to examine, and ek means from there, examine. So it makes it in a compound verb means exam thoroughly. Exam thoroughly and ακριβώς we have exactly with omega sigma and a circumflex on top. So it makes a typical adverb forms from the adjective ακριβώς. Περί του παιδιού, about the child. Epan means when, but also has a meaning as soon as. As soon as, however, evrite, from the verb evrisko. The form is pretty much preserved with the ending as the only way that we can recognize it. Also in the middle, there's a vocal stretch, ita, right? That's the key that we can recognize this word. From the evrisko, in an aorist, we have ivron. Well, it's ita in the beginning. It's because of the augment and epsilon combined together and then vocal stretch also in the ivron. But we don't have an evrite. We don't have the augment. No change in the front, which means this is not an aorist indicative. And this is we have the ending of ite. If you restore the vocal stretch to the formal forms, then it's ete with the epsilon. Ete. When do we have the ete ending? In an aorist, on as e, omen ete on. But from the ete, in the second person plural, we have the vocal stretch from eta to ita. When do we have this? In subjunctive. So when you have found them, it's something that hasn't happened yet, right? That's why we have the subjunctive here. As soon as you find them, or you may find them, right? Something that hasn't happened yet. And apanggilatemi is a compound verb from apo plus angelo. Apangelo means to report. Apo means from, but also has the meaning of back, return. So return, report back has a meaning. We have the same in the sense of apo in the back. Another compound verb, apodidomi, means give back. So apangelo is the more common compound verb that's used in the New Testament. It's about 45 times it's used. But also we have in the same sense anangelo. It's another compound verb from ana, means up, upon. Angelo, report. So report up in the sense of set up, right? Set up. Report, reported up. Well, it's not a natural English, report up, but you get the sense, right? It's about 10, 14 times it's used in the same sense. Apangelo. The compound verbs are the very typical features. It's it's used many times in the New Testament Greek compared to the ancient Greek. Okay, so report back to me. Opos. I usually first try to translate it with so that, with a purpose, so that I can do something, so that I or a subject may do. It's the actual meaning is how that. It also has meaning so that. So I try usually with the so that first. Opos kago, so that que plus ago. It's a classes. It's when it's shortened. The que and alpha iota is shortened, excuse me, to ego with epsilon. Kago and I, el thon, we have the participle again. El thon, elth, elef. I hope you remembered the keywords, the key syllables that I gave you. Elth from the verb erhome as typical syllable when it's changed. El thon, we have omega, ni ending, the participle. We also have this same ending, participle ending in the present and also in an aorist participle. How do we make the difference? With the accent. We talked about it once before. When there's accent above ending, it means as aorist participle changes. El thon, as I come, in this case, we have the King Herod as the subject. And I, el thon, as I come, or when I come, after I come. Proskinizo, from the verb proskineo. Right? We have seen this one in Matthew chapter 2, verse 1. Proskineo, to worship, to give homage, to give reverence, to give respect to him. After that's when we have a dative, after to him. So proskinizo is from the verb proskineo with the epsilon. Now we have a sigma, right? And also vocal stretch over there. The vocal stretch we're talking just before when an epsilon to eta indicates this is a subjunctive. Well, it's the only possible explanation. Only with vocal stretch you can't say this is subjunctive. But what we have is after, we have the ending. It's not a typical ending in an aorist, right? Aorist is usually in, right? On, but we have omega at the end. Then this is when it's in an aorist form with a vocal stretch. Also indicates this is could be in an aorist. Omega, it's the in an aorist. If you look at the chart in an paradigm in an aorist subjunctive, it takes the same form as the present. So O is E. However, it's with the E's, with the eta and iota subscriptums underneath. Is E. It changes in the stretched form. So we know this is proskinizo. Now it's in the subjunctive. In the main sentence, as I come, I may give him reverence. This is what it means. This is something something that's not happened, so that they are going to happen in the future, but also has the hortative meaning when it's used only in the first person. So first person singular or first person plural. So if you, as soon as you found it, report back to me, so that I also, I also um, give reverence to him. I also come, elthon, I come. And if you could technically grammatically separate them, proskiniso, then it could be translated as let me give homage, let me pay him a visit and give reverence to him. In a subjunctive, it's only the possible. In a hortative, it's called. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed it, today's sessions. We have some of the things in the subjunctive. It gets very difficult when it's used in a relative clause and a dependent sentence. But anyway, for now, in the main sentence, it was a brief, and the ending changes, and also in the vocal stretch, it's some of the keys that we can recognize in the subjunctive. The form is preserved in the aorist form. There is no augmentation in an aorist subjunctive. These are some of the keys. Okay, I hope you remember those, and I'll look forward to our next section. Thank you.